Yeah, we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the first episode of 2020 for This is Tech Talks. And I have my co host with me, Jay. Hey, Jay, how was your New Year?
Good. Yeah. Relaxing, which is what I was looking for.
Uh, cool. How was January so far?
Busy, but also good, which is like how I like
Ah,
it. Yeah.
cool. So, and we have our guest, special guest today, who will be who is joining us from Denmark, and he'll be talking about Flexbox. So, Dzhavat, how are you?
Well, Santosh, I'm fine. Thank you. Excited to be on the show. It's a
Thanks a
privilege.
lot. Yeah. Thanks a lot for joining us. I mean, I know I reached out to you very late, but you agreed to do this. So thanks a lot for doing that.
Yeah,
We appreciate
no
it.
problem. I'm excited.
Cool.
I know pretty much nothing about Flexbox, so I'm really looking forward to this.
Okay. Yeah.
Same here. Me too. So when it comes to CSS, I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Wait. So let's. So Zawad, would you like to introduce yourself before we move ahead?
Yeah, sure. My name is Dzhavat. I'm living here in Denmark, working at a company called Systemate as a front-end developer. And I have been working as a front-end developer all my career. I find it really exciting to do stuff in the browser and see the effects, changing colors, fonts, you name it, and see the page go live with all these exciting things I'm building.
Awesome. So in case, he's a co-worker of Lars or a co-founder of This Is Learning. So I'm sure like you must be enjoying working with him.
Yeah, it is amazing. I'm I'm learning a lot from Lars, and honestly it is a privilege to have him as a colleague. Um, and it every day working with him, I learn something new. He always has some nice tips and advices, and yeah, it's
Uh,
amazing.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people learn a lot of people learn a lot from Lars. There's a lot of L's there.
Agreed.
I
Um,
totally agree on that. Yeah,
it's crazy the amount of content that Lars puts out, and it's been so helpful for me myself to learn as well.
yeah, exactly. And I uh, because we are colleagues, I also got this signature on his book. So I
Oh,
have a authentic signature from him on the book. I I just completed it a couple of weeks ago. Learned a lot of things as well about Angular and the new Ivy
yeah.
engine.
Hmm. Sounds like Lars is a proper celebrity over there, getting signatures and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to meet him that day and show him the book.
Yeah.
Nice.
Cool. So next up, I think where did those questions go? So for people like me and maybe Santosh, because I know that I don't know how much front end dev work he does, but I know a lot of other people that watch this are more back end developers, or they might not necessarily do a lot of developing themselves, but they work in the tech industry. What is Flexbox? Because I wouldn't even be able to answer that question if someone asked me.
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't actually thought about that question before joining the stream because I'm so used to working with Flexbox, and I have a problem and I know immediately that Flexbox is a solution to that problem. So let's say we have this top bar where we have a logo and we have some navigation, and we want to put the logo on the left side, and we want to float the navigation items to the right. Before Flexbox, we probably would have done that with floats. So you float the logo and then the navigation items, they jump to the right and then on the same line. But now with Flexbox, we can apply this display flex property on the parent element that wraps this the logo and the menu, and magically the browser will put them in on the same line, and then you have control over those items. So Flexbox is this system for building layouts in one dimension. So you can build your layout in vertically or horizontally.
So is Flexbox the answer to the age-old question of how to center a div? So I feel like that's like a running joke in the programming industry, is like no one knows how to center a div.
Well, it is definitely one of the answers to that question.
Nice.
I use Flexbox for that. I know that there are better solutions like Git, which is newer than Flexbox, but I personally still use Flexbox. Probably should learn some Git as well, but until that time comes, I'm quite happy with the results so far with Flexbox.
Do you know what does Grid bring that Flexbox does not have? Do you know?
Yes, that is, if you want to have a system where you design in 2 dimensions, like I mentioned, Flexbox, it helps you build your layout in 1 dimension. And as soon as you want to place something out of the ordinary, let's say, then you'll have you'll hit some limitations with Flexbox. Whereas the grid property, it will basically let you lay out a whole grid on the page, and you have more control over the items and where to place them.
Oh, okay. There we go. Seems like something I should probably learn.
Michael loves Grid plus Flex.
Yes.
Yes.
Grid plus Flex, heart face. Yeah, I can see why. I can understand why. So now, in regards to CSS libraries, like I know the 2 biggest ones are probably like Bootstrap and Tailwind. I don't actually really know what the other ones would be. But do most of them support Flexbox and Grow, or do they use them under the hood, or like what's the relationship there, or have they like re-implemented them for some reason?
Well, I guess yeah. I'm actually, I haven't looked at Tailwind and how they have built it, but my intuition, and from what I have seen on social media and the way they use these utility classes, I've seen that they support at least Flexbox. There was a time a couple of years ago where some frameworks were still hesitant to go full Flexbox for building the layout, because there was this IE11 thing or browser, the IE11 browser, which had some limitations on Flexbox. But as soon as many of the frameworks dropped the IE11 support, there is basically no reason not to support Flexbox and Grid for that matter.
Yeah, that's probably one of the things that I know when Angular 13 dropped IE11 support. Santosh, do you remember?
Yeah.
It was 13?
Yeah.
I know when they dropped
12 it was deprecated.
Yeah.
12 was deprecated and then 13.
13 they got rid of it. Yeah, I remember them saying like, now that we've dropped this, we can start taking advantage of a lot of more advanced CSS. Well, not even advanced, newer CSS utilities and stuff like that. So I'm looking forward to see what they come up with now that they don't need to support IE11. because that'll be a huge win.
Yeah, one thing that immediately comes to mind is the CSS custom properties. I believe we'll see more and more in that direction.
What are CSS custom properties? I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
Well, it is basically as a variable in CSS where you can save some data, color, a number, whatever, and then you can reference that property name throughout your CSS.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. I knew them as CSS variables, so that makes more sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. I was like,
the same
properties. Can I start creating like all kinds of things? Cool. So, Santosh, were you going to say something?
No, I was saying, I mean, the same issue what SAS was solving earlier, right? So we used to create a lot of variables and then use them, compile to CSS. So now we can just directly, I think CSS variables have been there for quite a long time, right? The only problem was IE11 support. There's a lot of people just still supporting a lot of IE11 support, and then that's where the entire transition I think got delayed. But let's see how it goes. I'm rooting for CSS variables. Let's see.
Every problem is always an IE11 problem. IE11 is the root of all problems.
Yes, now that many frameworks dropped support for it, we don't have any excuses anymore.
No.
So it's going to be exciting. What will be the next?
IE11, probably Safari.
Yeah, well, yeah, I've read some complaints about Safari.
Cool. So I know that you have a VS Code extension for doing something with Flexbox in VS Code. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I was sitting one night in front of the computer and working on some side project, probably, and I was trying something with Flexbox again, and at that time, what I would do is if I had some problems with Flexbox, I would just open Google, search Flexbox, and immediately the first link is the Flexbox cheat sheet on CSS Tricks, the most famous page, or one of the most famous pages for web developers. And then look through the properties and then find the one that will solve my problem. And I thought to myself, well, why not just embed a cheat sheet right into the editor? That way I can save a few keystrokes and then I can keep my context, still keep working inside VS Code, but have the cheat sheet on the side, use it, and then close it again and continue working. So it was more about avoiding to switch context and stay in VS Code. That the idea came up. I searched for extensions at that time about this. I couldn't find any, so I thought maybe I can build one first to learn how to build extensions in VS Code, and then to solve that small problem that I had.
Cool. Okay, we have a question from someone. How is Flexbox different than Bootstrap? So I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, like very briefly. So Flexbox is built into CSS and Bootstrap's a library. So how is Flexbox different?
Yes, Flexbox is part of the CSS specification. So that is one part of the entire CSS that we're using to style our apps and websites. Whereas Bootstrap is more of a library which provides you some utility classes, which provides you a grid, which provides you components that you can use to quickly build your app. So that will be the main difference. Bootstrap uses most likely Flexbox underneath the hood, but they built on top of it components and whole pages and stuff like that.
Cool. Thanks. Santosh, do you have any questions? Oh, there we go.
Oh,
There's the link
yeah,
to the VS Code extension.
Agreed.
That's why you're on the show.
Well, it's that code extension. It is. I'm quite happy with it, but it is not entirely my own. I am building on something else or work from someone else, and that is Derek K. He built the cheat sheet, and I used that and embedded it inside the extension. So it's not entirely my own, but I wrote to Derek and asked him if I can use the cheat sheet, and he said yes. So I proceeded and embedded it in that extension.
Nice. Nice. That's what open source is about. Yeah.
Exactly.
Collaboration.
Exactly. So combine things and make something new out of existing tools or out of existing techniques, and share our knowledge and experience with each other.
Yeah, totally. So one person in the chat was talking about them wanting to start learning to build VS Code extensions. It would be a nice thing to explore. How did you figure out how to build VS Code extensions? Did you literally just type into Google how to build VS Code extensions, or did you do something else?
The official website for VS Code, they have a section about building code extensions. I started looking there. Another way is to simply open a code extension and visit their repository. Most of the code extensions are open source. So if you find a simpler one that can help you get started, it is a good way to start building.
Nice. Good idea. Would yours be a good example to look at for building a simple VS Code extension?
Well, there are different kinds of code extensions.
Sure.
There are some make a custom theme. There are some that embed a web view, which is what I do with Flexbox Cheatsheet, and so on. There are some extensions that build a debugger inside VS Code. If you want to build an extension that embeds a web view inside VS Code, yeah, that is an example, at least, you can use to get started.
Sweet.
I have seen a lot of developers creating an alert to drink the water. If I'm not wrong, that's really common example which people do as an extension. That's a Chrome extension. Sorry, I just got confused with VS Code.
I'm sure there's probably a VS Code extension for it as well.
Yeah,
is it?
there are many VS Code extensions out there in the marketplace.
Okay, so a little bit more. I don't know if they'd be advanced questions or not, but when should someone consider using Flexbox over Grid? Like you said that you prefer Flexbox a lot of the time because you've been using it forever, but Grid's the new system. When would I choose as a new developer to use Flexbox versus Grid?
I would say when you have a need to control elements in 2 dimensions, like I mentioned a bit earlier. So it's not only a logo and a menu bar, but you have a slightly bigger layout, let's say a gallery, and you have these images laid out on the page, and you want to create some kind of an artwork out of those images. You want to lay them on specific regions or sections on the page and on the screen, Flexbox will not be the best choice in that case, because you'll have a limited possibilities how you can arrange the items on the layout. In that case, the grid will be the most it will be the most suitable solution. Whereas, let's say you have a button with an icon and text next to it, and you want to align them horizontally, and then in the middle, that will be a use case for Flexbox.
Gotcha.
Small components, they usually work well with Flexbox, whereas slightly bigger elements or components and layouts,
Cool.
They work better with the grid.
So Lars isn't sure, but are they about the same age? And they're just kind of solving slightly different problems?
Yeah, that's right. They're solving different problems. Like I said, I usually use the Flexbox nowadays, and when I hit a limitation and see that Flexbox is just not it doesn't solve that problem that I have good enough. Maybe at that point I will reach out and use Grid, but they're not. They complement each other, and just alternatives for building layouts.
Cool. I don't know if you know this or not, so I'm curious to see what you have to say, but how does Flexbox sizing work? Like, how does it, I don't know, maybe it's an internal thing, but do you know how it works? How does it size things inside, like,
Well, so when you apply the display flex property on a element that wraps some items, the items inside the wrapper, they all become flex items. So it doesn't matter if it is a block level element normally, which is, for example, a div or a paragraph, or if it is an inline element like a span, they all become flex items instead. And Flexbox will line them up next to each other without wrapping them. So they will be just on the same line. And depending on initially the items will get the size of its content. So if you have some text inside a div, that will be the width for that flex item, and so on for the next one. And it will overflow the this wrapping element basically. Even the screen, if it reaches the screen, it will just overflow and create this scroll bar underneath.
Cool. Sweet.
And then
sorry, go ahead.
You have an option to apply wrapping. So all items that will otherwise overflow the parent element, they can just wrap underneath and create a nice transition without breaking the layout.
I can see why that would be useful as a person that never writes CSS.
Yeah, exactly. That's one big pain point. many people experience first time when they put Flexbox or display flex on a parent element.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, all elements are on the same line, and then why can I move them to the next? Adding a break tag like the BR, the new line tag doesn't help in that case. It just becomes um, flex item.
Cool. Sweet. Well, we're coming up on the end of the broadcast here. I just wanted to ask you one last thing. Is there anything that you want to promote to everybody watching, Flexbox or CSS related?
Well, not really. I don't have things to promote. I would just say be nice with each other and try things. Don't discourage yourself if your thing doesn't work the first time. Try it again. Uh, Learn as you go, and um, and share your knowledge with the rest of us.
Mm-hmm. I saw a tweet last night that said, I can't remember who said it, but learning by trial and error is underrated. And I was like, yeah, just
exactly. It's
try it, fail, try it, fail until you get it.
Yeah, that's good advice.
Cool.
Yeah. So, Dzhavat, we have few more minutes. So, one question from my side: what are your go-to resources for Flexbox, where people can learn?
Well, definitely the CSS tricks Flexbox cheat sheet page. That is definitely a good resource. The MDN Flexbox page, that is a pretty nice learning resource as well. There are some online pages that work as a interactively learning Flexbox, like Flexbox Froggy, where you put frogs on leaves and then combining learning fun with learning. That will be those resources. That will be my go-to resources initially.
Definitely going to get to take a look at that, see if I can grasp how Flexbox works, and then go back to writing server code.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Santosh?
Yeah, one last question. I mean, there is a library called Angular Flexbox. You ever tried that?
Yeah, I've seen it, and I saw it being used in one project. I
Okay.
will. I personally wouldn't use it because of how good support for Flexbox is in the browser nowadays.
Uh-huh.
I know it is a great library and it solves a problem when it was released. But I will first try and see how far I can go with the native Flexbox support before relying on the Flexbox or the Angular Flexbox.
I believe it's still in beta technically too, which is crazy.
It has always been beta.
Yeah,
it has always been beta. So
whenever you go and update all your Angular packages, they're all like 13.0.1, and then the Flexbox one's like 13.0.1 dot beta 18 or whatever.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. Oh, we're on beta 38 now, apparently. Is what it's currently sitting at. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on the show. It was awesome learning about Flexbox. I'm definitely going to take a look at some of these resources and pass them along to my team, to the ones that it'll probably help out more than me.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was a pleasure being on the show, and I'm looking forward to see the next guests on future episodes.
Yeah. If you have any suggestions, please let us know. Otherwise, anybody listening, if you know of someone or yourself has a topic that you want to discuss and share out to the community, let us know. You can tweet at us at This Is Tech Talks, I believe, or This Is Learning. Santosh, what is it?
This is learning. Yeah, this is learning.
Cool. Yeah. Or message any of us, really, and we can talk about getting you on the show.
Sure. Yeah. So that's it for the day, everyone, and we will meet again next week. We are going to talk about Blazor. So one of our good friend Ankit will be joining us to talk about Blazor. He has written multiple books on Blazor. He keeps talking about Blazor, has done a lot of things in Blazor. So looking forward to actually give something to our .NET friends here, because we one of the complaint I always hear from the Twitter is why it's always about JavaScript. So let's do .NET next time. And you can always reach out to Dzhavat. His Twitter handle is mentioned in the description of the video. In case you have any question, feel free to reach out to him. I think that will be fine, right, Dzhavat?
Exactly. My Twitter instant messages or private messages, whatever it is called, it is open. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out.
Cool.
Awesome.
Thank
well,
you.
I just
Thanks a
followed
lot.
you because I see that you were following me. So now we're following.
So yeah, that's the talk is about. I mean, the episode is about making connections.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, enjoy your day, everybody. I know it's late for some. I am literally just starting my day. So have a good weekend.
Man.
Thanks.
Yeah, same.
Have a
So
nice
bye,
day.
everyone. Bye bye.